All right, welcome to the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers. This is episode 157, and I am joined today by Rachel.
Hello.
Chris.
Hi.
Chase.
G'day.
And Steven.
Sup.
Sup. So second episode of the 2025. It's been a fairly calm and uneventful year for absolutely no one. So we'll just move on from that. But we'll talk about what we've been doing as we move along for this. So, Steven, let's start off with you. What you been doing, man?
I've been playing something called Multiverses and another game called ZZZ. But I've gotten far enough in them that I can learn to go into other things. One of them was burning myself, trying to make a steak and not flipping the giant hunk of meat properly. That was fun.
When the food
it's
fights
on
back.
my bucket list of things I do not want to happen to myself.
Ever again.
It's a bucket list I never want to complete because one of them is on there is dismemberment because what would it feel like? So I don't need
Jesus.
that. It's like a hidden exactly. It's like a hidden bucket list. But I started playing more Steam demos. Chris told me one was a glitch with Steam, but TMNT Splintered Fate says I don't have the license to play the demo, which I thought was weird.
Very
Okay.
strange.
So
Yeah.
I'll try looking for it again and reinstalling it. I didn't know. I started looking for all the codes that you get from Amazon Prime Gaming and stuff. Found out that those Steam codes expire too. They only have maybe a 60-day or 90-day limit. You can tell I was backlogged.
I keep forgetting, yeah.
But then I saw one of my creators I follow on YouTube talking about a certain game, so I was like, I'll try it out, calling it the Killing Antidote, which is like a really good Resident Evil clone, but it's also mixed with the elements of Stellar Blade in terms of costumes, because you can find dozens of costumes. It's all Korean, but it's subtitled. It's done very well.
Dress up.
Everything you find, you can do dress up. You can change your hair and looks right from the beginning before you leave her apartment to go investigate. But in terms of playability, it does play like a really good Resident Evil, so it's pretty nice. Then I tried another one called Keep Driving, which is a driving roguelike.
Yes, how is that? Because I got the demo a while ago, but
The game is ruthless.
okay.
Wow.
And when I say roguelike, it gives you a lot of chances to continue your quest, because your first quest is drive to your friend's house so you can play Nintendo 64. They call it something else.
Oh.
So
Damn.
everything you get, you have to fit in your car. You can actually put your seats down to fit more things. You can pick up hitchhikers that give you abilities, but some of them have stuff they need to carry with them. Like you pick up a guy who's like, "Can you drop me off at the next town so I can see if there's any gigs for me?" Because I'm a musician, so you have to take his guitar. Another guy lost his job, and he's just like, "Just take me to the next town so I can get a job there or get bus fare home." But the game has these things that happen to you where either you got distracted, or there's a puddle, or there's potholes, or there's a tractor in the way. So you get all these things you need to, like these symbols that you need to use your abilities or items in your glove compartment to basically combat the symbols. And it has to do with like durability of your car, your energy, if you're hungry, all kinds of, if you're cold. So every time I did it, it was just like, oh, you're coming across potholes. And then it gave me all these symbols. And I was like, I can't possibly get rid of all these. So I can't tell you how many times it says I failed to drive to my destination. Either my car broke down or I ran out of energy. So I had to either call a tow truck, which I didn't have money for. You can call your parents and they'll drive you to at least the nearest gas station, convenience store. You can buy stuff again. So it's interesting, but the game is really hard. So I was just like, yeah, I'm going to move on from this. This is asking too much.
I want to try it now.
Yeah, I kind of want to do it also. How's
It's
it
all
play?
pixel-based and it looks beautiful.
Mhm.
Nice pixel-based and stuff.
That's what like brought me to it because I was like, oh, this is pixely. It looks fun. I like it.
But it's just a lot of turn-based roguelike where it's like you need these items and stuff to get rid of these symbols, and if you don't get rid of them on this turn, they're all going to hurt you in order.
Oh no.
And I was just like, why is there not an easy mode? You're not even easing me into it. You're just like, you're going to die. I'm like, okay.
And you're playing this on your Steam Deck, right?
I'm playing on the Steam demo.
The what?
Steam demo?
Oh, Steam demo. I said Steam Deck.
Oh, no, not on the Steam Deck because it's very mouse oriented. So,
Oh, okay.
the first thing I do is I look to see if there's controller support or Steam input. And when it didn't have either, I was like, you're being played on the PC.
I gotta say the touchpad on the Steam Deck is actually not too bad for that stuff, but I don't know. Kind of curious. All right.
And you can listen to licensed music, but it all sucks.
Wow.
There you go. Chase, what about you? What have you been up to?
Mostly just Stalker 2. Been really enjoying it. Curious to see. I know that they're talking about there's going to be a new patch coming out soon, and I'm curious to see what the changes they make are, because game needs a little bit of loving.
Yeah, they're working on it, but I agree.
Yeah.
All right. I need to get in there and get back into playing that, but yeah, I'll explain why I haven't been able to in a bit. Chris, what about you? What have you been doing?
Well, I've almost finished Anton Blast. They have this horrible timed remember everything you did from stage 1 to stage 12 gimmick boss level that has been annihilating me, but I plan on finishing it eventually. I'm also missing 5 cars in Hot Wheels Unleashed too, but they're all the secret cars where you have to either go drift through an entire track without hitting the wall, or beat the other cars in extreme mode, and the game does Mario Kart level rubber banding, so it's not exactly easy. So I don't know if I'll finish it, but I'll try. And Octopath Traveler 2 is on Game Pass, so I'm going to give that a try soon.
Nice. All right. Rachel, what about you? What you been doing?
Okay, not a lot, really. Other than like personal stuff aside with my family and everything going on. For those of you listening, we've kind of pseudo talked about on the show. I've mentioned it briefly, where my mom's health, she had some health issues, but unfortunately she passed away last week. And it sucks. It's very rough. But things are getting better for me emotionally. And I'll miss her forever. But it sucks. And that's the major life update for me. And steering out of the sad conversation, because she would want me to be happy and talk about happy things. I'm still playing Mario Odyssey. That has not changed.
It's a good game.
It's such a good game. I play a little bit of it, like every day. Like I'll just dick around in a level or try to complete a level. I'm in the city one now, which is fun. I like killing the
level, especially when you get the music.
Yes. I'm at the very beginning where it's still like raining and everything, but I like killing the mosquitoes because it provides me with great joy to kill mosquitoes as a Floridian. So anybody,
Those are jerks.
They're jerks, little tiny devils.
The Florida State bird.
Yeah, truly. Sometimes they're big enough to be. So, then I was at board game night, still going to that every Thursday, but I recently remembered a board game that I hadn't played in years, right? And this was when I was thrifting. I was going to use bookstores during the week. I had brought some of my mom's books that I would never read to there and sold them to them and got some more books and a few board games. And there was this box that was yellow. It wasn't the game that I'm about to mention, but it reminded me of it. And I sat there going, wasn't there a game that was that color box that had beans? And I remember who I played it with, and I messaged my friends and I go, what was the bean game? And they were like, Bonanza. And I was like, oh my God, Bonanza. So I messaged my friends at board game night and was like, does anyone have Bonanza and would want to play it? And they went, yeah, at least two of us do. One of us will bring it on Thursday night. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I haven't played it in years and I love that game. So we played that on Thursday night, along with a few other games too, like Century Spice Road, and I taught people how to play Exploding Snap. But and I won Bonanza, by the way. It was a good time.
This is my first time ever hearing about it.
So it's all about planting and harvesting beans to earn coins. You get 2 bean fields, and there's only a certain amount of certain like types of beans, and you have to like they have to all be the same type of bean in that one plot of the field. And you start with 2 bean fields. In the original game, you could buy a 3rd bean field for 3 coins, but they took that rule out. But I don't care. It's a good rule. I'm still playing with it. And so is everybody else apparently, because they think that the rules change, the change of rule of that it was taken out is dumb. So, and then you have to like plant them, and then a certain amounts, like, so say you get 3 of a certain type of bean, and those 3 beans are worth 1 coin. But if you get like 6 beans, they're worth 3 coins, or 10 beans and they're worth 5 coins, like that kind of stuff. Like the more beans you have up to a certain point, you cash in for more coins. And at the end, whoever has the most coins wins. But the art's really cool. It's all hand drawn. It's neat. I recommend it if you're looking for a fun game. There is a 2-person version. So if you want to play with, your wife or your girlfriend or whoever you're playing with, and it's just a fun time. And then also I discovered a curated game list on Steam. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those, but
Yes.
I kind of had just discovered them the other day, and I found one that was called the Adventure Library. I did link it in our Discord for anybody listening that is in our Discord. And it's called the Adventure Library, and it quite literally has pretty much all of the what would be described as a classic point and click adventure game. Every single one of them that, even if it's not good, is on that list if it's sold on Steam. Well, here's the thing. Like, they even put it on there if it's not recommended. Some of them is just like, it's
infographic or information only.
Information only is for ones that have mixed reviews, where it's neutral. If it's not recommended, they quite literally put not recommended there. And if it's highly recommended, it says so. So they very much curated the list. It's very interesting. And I discovered a few games on there that I had never seen before, because sometimes it's kind of hard to navigate that point and click category on Steam, strictly because there's so many hidden object games that are bogging down the stuff that's actually good. Now, that's not to say that some hidden object games aren't good. There are some very good ones. There's an old Phantom of the Opera one that's good.
Should not be the hidden objects.
Yes, there should be quite literally a category that's called hidden object game, and they should have their own category.
Send it to your grandma.
They don't.
I'm surprised they don't too, but I don't.
Has a list.
There's probably a list, yeah. But this was a good place to really see that, and I found some stuff on there that I had never heard of. That I was like, all right, I'll have to give that a shot if it goes on sale the next time the Steam sale happens. And then of course I used my new capture card that I got around Black Friday. Jeremy, you'll be pleased to know that there is no lag as far as I can see. I have received no complaints from the few people that were watching me stream Sonic Heroes the other night.
I'm actually thinking about ordering one for myself so I can hook it up on my laptop in the other room, because my new laptop 4070 it'll do it. So I can stream some stuff in there and just play comfortably and just have more casual kind of just playing sessions and see how
goes. For sure. I like it so much. I next time it goes on sale again, I will buy it and replace my HD 60S, and that one will.
Hey, that thing was good to me.
Yes, it was good to me too, and it will take a little nap, and I will probably use it as like a portable, kind of like you're doing. But I would I would take it with me if I wanted to like stream something from a friend's house, or I don't know.
Right.
But that's what I've been up to.
Nice. So my list has been fairly short for me, what I've been doing, mostly because I've been playing a lot of Balatro, and it is addictive. So I beat the game. I finished it 3 times now. Once while my friend Remy was here.
Oh, how's Remy?
He's doing pretty good.
Good.
Planning more trips to Japan, and I hate him for it. He just
Rude.
Didn't
Didn't he just get back from like Brazil or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like so much fun.
Oh yeah, he gets to just run around. It's great.
So rude.
He picks up fun stuff for me though, so I can't complain. I'm gonna complain. I want to go.
Tell him I say hello and I give my love, and I enjoy watching his escapades when he posts about them on social media.
I will
It's
also
very
guilt him
entertaining.
and go like, I'll deliver this message from Rachel, but if you actually watched the show, you would have heard it.
Oh, he'll probably laugh at that.
He will, and then he'll walk off. I also mess them every time he shows up. He has a hybrid Porsche, and he'll plug his car in the front. And it's like, are you here to visit, or you just need to charge your car? But we were playing with him, and we finished. I finished the game, went through the 8 rounds of it, and then we kind of continued for a little bit. And then I've been trying different decks, and yesterday I finished it twice on 2 other decks. So I've unlocked a bunch of those. I've got about a little over 100 of the Jokers unlocked out of 150. Once again, like I mentioned, there is an option you can just click on it to unlock everything, but I like going through and collecting stuff, so it's kind of feeding that. Go ahead, Steven.
Christian, do you have a PSA about unlocking everything in Balatro?
Yes.
Oh,
he's
just
muted,
lost
so
the sound.
nobody will know now.
Yep.
Oh, sorry about that. I do. I got curious because the idea of unlocking every card sounded interesting. I figured I'd give it a little try.
I'm trying.
See how it turns out. The thing is, it's not in the settings page. It's in the profile page, and for a very good reason, because the moment you click it, all your progress is deleted.
What?
Man, I didn't know that.
Back.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that.
So
they didn't tell me that when I saw the clip about it. Bastards.
I now have 2 profiles. One is the new player 1 profile that is going to be me regaining my tracks, and the second one with unlocked all, which I have titled Whoops. So yes, for anybody curious, there are 3 profiles, at least in the Switch version. Use a separate profile if you're going to do the unlock all option, please.
Yeah, did not know about that. Thank you for the heads up. The other thing I've been doing, yeah, good to know for sure. The other thing I've been doing is I finally insulated the ceiling in half the game room. This room I'm still working on. It's still open. I'm doing wiring because I'm going to add a fan and some other stuff. But the other room on the other side of the wall behind the camera has a ceiling now. Mostly. I had to keep one section open because I'm going to have to reroute water lines that are going through there, because when they put the lines into the game room where the water heater used to be and fed it over to the outside water heater, they brought the lines up and then just did a 90 and then another 90 going up and then bent it around, and it's starting to leak from there. And I'm like, we could have just drilled 2 holes and just went straight through and curved it and been done. So I'm going to try and get that fixed here soon. Then I can close in the rest of the roof. I'm starting to do the drywall on the top of it. Just kind of got a wild hair at my ass to finally get this room finished. And I started buying the parts for the shelving so I'm going to have an entire wall from ceiling to floor high enough that I'm going to have a step stool to get to the top shelf. So that's mostly going to be statues I want to look at or games I just don't give 2 shits to play for a while. I'll just put them way up there. Maybe like big collector's editions or something like that, just to kind of get it out of the way. But I'm actually making progress, which is nice. Tonight, the normal games we play after the show, we'll have to see what they are. 'Cause my couch is covered in stuff I moved while I was moving the ladder around. So I'm going to have to unfuck that whole thing. It is bad.
Unfuck.
Yeah, well, my couch is covered in everything that was in that room, so whatever. All right, so we will go ahead and jump into the group chat.
Jinkies.
All right. So once again, we're kind of covering some of the stuff that Stephen, Chase, and I have been up to, and that is playing for more of For the King, which has been, furthering the adventures of Dr. Fishbanger and others, which has been great. That's probably part of what we're going to end up playing tonight. Go ahead, Stephen.
I'm pleased to announce that when I was logging on to play my dailies, not one, but 2 patches have been applied to For the King 2, and I'm interested if they fix the screaming glitch.
I haven't heard too much of it, but I'm curious to see.
They haven't fixed that, Swan.
That's a feature.
We can hope.
It's not a bug; it's a feature.
Exactly.
That and that when it freezes, when it changes the time of day. I'm hoping they fix that too.
Yeah,
I hope they have the menu stuff fixed.
Yeah, that is the one thing that always bugs the hell out of me. I'm just like, all right, I'm not even going to bother trying to go through the menu while I'm waiting. I just break out my Switch, and I'm usually playing Battlefield.
They were hefty updates, so I was like, come on.
Oh, I need to download those. Well, I should have already downloaded them. I have it set to automatic.
Okay.
And of course, the other game is Demio, where we tried to get through, I think, was it the 4th or 5th book?
The new mechanic that they did now is just kicking our ass, where it just puts spawn points that can upgrade to bigger spawn points and give us bigger monsters.
We got absolutely demolished. Like it was.
I think at one point Shanoa had to deal with like a bunch of the highest level monsters around her because they all came out of the portal that way.
Yeah.
I don't know how many attempts it's going to take us to get through that last one. All the other ones seem to kind of go well. This one's just like, all right, you finished those?
Then we looked up like the rules of how you fight the giant Monos Hands of Fate. How you have to like find a certain item that's going to help you with the boss battle. And we're like, how are you ever supposed to know that?
I have an easier time finding Master Hand and Crazy Hand in Smash Brothers than us dealing with that thing. Just total pain. But all right, so let's jump into our bit of news. All right, so Switch 2 Watch continues. Starting off, did you guys see in Discord I posted, it was a concept video someone did showing some of the mouse functionality, but beyond that, the very beginning, they had done their rendition of the Switch 2 logo. Like, you know how the Switch now, the animation, like you see the Joy-Con icon drop in, like, and it does the snap. They did one where it's the Joy-Con on the side and the number 2, and it locks in like that. And I was like, son of a bitch, that's probably going to be surprisingly close to what I think they're going to actually do, because the Joy-Cons don't slide in, they pop in, and that would be absolutely perfect if they stick with that theming of it. So I don't know. I have to look and see who that person was, but I kind of think they may have just stumbled into what's going to be there. So who knows?
I'm hearing more and more things this week that I got excited, and I shouldn't, but if it happens, I'm going to be excited.
We'll have to talk about that, which I kind of like. But so right after the last show, when we talked about this, we had a very weird announcement pop up and some evidence for it. But so the Joy-Con, it can be a mouse. What the hell was that?
Cats.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know
my
which one
God.
But...
That was like a dramatic like drum roll, but after the fact. Okay.
Edit that. It'd be like, it's gonna be a mouse.
No, more like you could put like a subtitle thing with little asterisks that goes, "Cat noises intensifies."
The cats are excited. So
I'll have to check on that later.
I was thinking about like what you could do with mouse functionality and stuff like that, and I was thinking like Mario Maker could come back, like they could do the third one and give you more direct control over doing stuff. You could use it for a new Mario Paint. A lot of PC ports, like I think this would be Chase. This would make your day, because like Civilization, you could play it with almost a mouse style control and a joystick at the same time.
His only issue is it's a really, really, really small mouse.
Well, the plus side for the Joy-Cons seem bigger because of the larger system size, and there were some rumors going back and forth of kind of an add-on piece, almost like a Legion Go, that you would connect it to. to increase the size. So who knows?
Listen,
Pretty
maybe
cool.
they'll have bigger adaptable controllers for people with beefy hands.
Those are called Pro controllers.
Exactly. But they snap on the sides.
So we have a full video render from third-party developer for third-party hardware accessory maker Genki that shows off the system with a slight case on it, but it's probably one of the better looks of the system we've had. Shows the Joy-Cons how they attach and detach, which I am sad to say the big buttons in the back, which I really, really hoped would be another button, is just the release mechanism. And I was like, damn it. I really wanted that to be something functional. But it kind of pushes out a pin that releases the magnets for how it connects. We got a full spinning view of the hardware, which looks like there is a microphone at the top when I looked at it. Confirmed the 2 USB-C ports, a headphone jack right next to the cartridge slot where it is on the Switch now, things like that. And then we even got a look at the dock itself, finally, with a few people leaking it, not just Genki. And one of the bigger things I noticed, and this is going to be me getting slightly electrical engineering nerdy, so I apologize ahead of time. The dock itself has been shown to require much higher power supply than the original Switch. So now it says on the input, 20 volts, 3 amp, which is equivalent of 60 watts of power. That's like my laptop almost. Like that's up there for power requirements. But what's interesting is it then says output power, 15 volts, 2.8 amps, which is 42 watts of power. So that difference in power means that the dock itself is doing something. It's running components. It is actually running something internally. So I do actually believe it is designed to help either with scaling or
I want
some kind of
8K 30
active cooling.
frames.
Yeah. It's probably more towards like an active cooling system, but it's doing something more than the old dock did. But that also means the Switch itself is 42 watts, which is, I think the original Switch was like 18. Like that's a big old power jump. So this thing's
It's like 2 switches taped together.
pretty much. So I don't know. I'm kind of interested in how that's going to work. But that also kind of leans towards you're not going to be using your old Switch dock to run this. So there goes using that as just a video output. It'll probably burn it up if you tried.
Hopefully it's backwards compatible, though.
Yeah, that'd be kind of nice. Like if you could at least put your original Switch in it. So that way I can just have one dock and not have to...
Yeah.
Because that would take up a lot of space. So... GameStop decided it wanted to share in some of the leaks, and... they have an entire listing for a micro SD Express format being used for the cards and being available to pre-order. These were very quickly marked off as unknown SKU. But they
Dummy
have a huge...
SKUs now.
What is it?
They
Dummy
turned
SKU,
into
yes.
dummy SKUs.
So there's a long list of dummy SKUs, but the picture was already out there. Samsung has been developing this with Nintendo. Like the hardware's existed beforehand. This is kind of a micro SD card that has SSD speeds. Like it's actually quite impressive. Like we're talking maybe a little bit slower. It's slower than the PS5 and the Series X memory, but it is faster than what's traditionally in there. So we can get some good speeds. And I'm hoping that carries over to the new cartridges, because that could mean those games load a lot faster, which for any of us that have played Mario and Luigi Brothership would be freaking phenomenal, because it is so slow between fights. But I like the fact these have a theoretical memory storage of 128 terabytes, which we're not anywhere near. Let's get that right. But the fact that it can handle data up to that amount, like that's, I don't even know how much that would cost. Like that would be a thousands of dollar memory card. It looks like it can still operate with some older hardware. So like the card itself, you could pull out and be able to read in other places. Mm-hmm. Have any of you guys ever heard of that format before?
I have not.
Yeah, I had to do some research into it myself.
The only thing I found was like the size of them is they said like if you wanted like a 256 gigabyte, it was like like $60. So it's definitely more expensive for the speeds.
That's not as bad as some of them, but yeah, I mean, we're going to pay a little bit more for these. That's a given. It's just like with the SSDs, you're going to pay a higher cost for that higher speed.
But as that version of that card becomes more popular and more commonplace, the costs will go down.
Yeah, I was really worried that we might potentially have a Vita situation, because the Vita just lived and died off the fact that their memory card was so expensive and so little support for it. Thankfully, I've already seen there are laptops, some cameras, and other devices that already support this format. It's already part of the SD card kind of library of stuff. Like, you can see the icon for it and buy it on certain stuff. So, and it'll work in older readers. It just works at that lower speed. So hopefully this will be something that's adopted, and eventually the cost comes down. Because if you look at it now, you can get a terabyte micro SD card and pay like $100 now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like
I got a 2
pretty crazy.
terabyte actually for the same price when it was on sale once on yeah.
What did you put that in?
My Switch.
You put 2 terabytes in your Switch? Holy shit.
Yeah.
That seems like overkill.
What? No.
Not for RPGs. You need
Yeah, the
all...
Thank
Switch
you,
doesn't
Chris,
discriminate.
my hero, for coming to my rescue with that answer there.
I wasn't
Because I would have been.
I thought it was
RPGs.
crazy when Jeremy put 1 terabyte in his Switch. I was like, what are you
I'm
doing?
just glad, unlike the Wii or Wii U, there's no limit to how many squares I can have, because I want to always get the gold coins from every game I buy.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a box for every game I've ever had for the Switch on the Switch. So that's over 700 squares.
Good Lord. Yeah, I need to look and see about how many I've got.
But I
on mine.
love that you can archive them so that the square stays there, but the save game stays, but the game installation dies. So if you ever want to play it again, you just click on it and download it.
My biggest thing is I take too many screenshots and videos and stuff, and I have to purge them on occasion. That's what eats up all my memory. So hopefully we'll be avoiding the Vita situation with this. But the last little bit I wanted to talk about with this is a fun surprise visit from Nintendo lawyers to Genki at CES. They showed up apparently in the past couple of days and got Nintendo to actually release a statement about all of these leaks, stating that none of it is official, which we all kind of knew, because if Nintendo doesn't announce it, it's not officially announced. Genki went back on saying that they had the hardware, and all of a sudden they're like, oh no, we built this off the leaks. We didn't officially get a hold of a kit, which is kind of them backing out, going, we did not buy this off the black market. Please don't come after us, Nintendo. I still think the leaks and what they're showing are pretty believable, but it's really, really funny that this ended up happening. Go ahead, Steven.
So who wants to know about probable games coming out for it?
I want to know. I have a couple that I've heard about.
There was 4 announced, with more in the pipeline, according to known online leaker Nate the Hate, who got everything right about Metroid Prime 4 and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So people are already like on his side. But step 1 is that they don't know if it's going to be for launch yet, but it sounds like the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy will come to Switch too. And it'll start with the first one at launch, and then Rebirth will come a year later. But they'll at least get them on both Switch and Xbox, because they already said they have a new strategy with their next fiscal year where they want to, put it out on everything else. That was interesting. But then the even more interesting one was that Xbox is ready to capitalize on Nintendo's new system, and they plan to release Flight Simulator and Master Chief Collection for Switch too.
I think those are good games to start with, for sure.
Flight Simulator, I'm honestly surprised that was not multi-platform anyways, just because it's a flight simulator. It's not like you're multiplayer with a bunch of people and stuff like that.
But if you can give me local co-op with Halo Master Chief Collection, that's bringing back old Xbox days, and that is insane if Microsoft can pull that off.
don't get me wrong, that is something I do want, because running that on the Steam Deck is amazing. That game on Steam Deck and stuff is absolutely a beautiful fit. But I don't know, it just still feels very weird for me for Microsoft to put, especially the entire Halo collection, on other systems. Because I've heard the same thing of like, oh, they'll have a Gears of War collection, and pretty much anytime they announce that they're doing anything, everyone now just assumes, oh, they're just sending it to everywhere, and it's like,
Yeah,
you're
those
still
I
gonna
didn't
have
hear about. The one from the leaker just specifically mentioned Halo
Mhm.
and Flight Simulator and said if those do well, obviously they'll continue with their plans and make sure that what do you call it? Sea of Thieves and what was the other one? Hi-Fi Rush get on Switch 2 as well.
Oh man,
Yeah, because
guys.
Hi-Fi Rush still hasn't been
Listen.
announced for it. Sea of Thieves would be
I know,
great.
right? She's already, her gears are turning.
Yeah, Grounded, I think, needs a good update for it.
Oh, I mean, Grounded plays okay on the Switch. I have it.
Yeah, but I mean, an enhancement would be nice, because I know
It would
there's already talks about the No Man's Sky group already having an update ready, which makes sense.
make sense for sure.
They do that
But
for
man, listen, no, I would play Sea of Thieves on the Switch. Absolutely, I would. Like,
yeah, I think Switch 2 would be a good fit for it.
absolutely. And if there was a way that you could, because with the Switch, you need obviously you need a Wi-Fi connection. So can you imagine, being like out traveling, whenever you're at a hotel and you're just like, oh, friends are playing Sea of Thieves. I'm like, hold on, let me play it on my Switch too, or whatever the hell it's going to be called.
At this point, when they finally announce the direct, it's going to be watched by more people than the Game Award.
Probably. You're probably absolutely correct.
More announcements, less commercials, I guess, depending on how you consider it. And the last thing I was going to talk about for this, it's not really Switch 2 related, but also this is something I meant to mention earlier that Steven pointed out to me that cost me a quick $93. There is now available a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe cartridge that you can buy. It's like $89.99. I think it comes out to like 93 something for the US, but it has all of the DLC tracks on cart. Everything is on the cartridge. So I was like, all right, I'm going to buy this because I really want to get that. If they did one for Smash Brothers, I'd pay over $100. I wouldn't even care. I'd do it without missing a heartbeat.
The only reason I'm not getting that Mario Kart one is I'm pretty confident in Nintendo re-releasing it.
I don't think they're going to. I think we're going to end up getting a move on to whatever Mario Kart 9 is going to be, or possibly 10 if they consider the mobile one 9 or whatever.
I don't know. We got Tropical Freeze and then we got Donkey Kong Country Returns. So
that's true, but I mean that's just Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is kind of was more of a complete edition because it's all the content from 2 versions put out there. I mean, same thing, like we're getting Xenoblade Chronicles X with all of its stuff plus some extra.
However,
I saw that you can pre-order that now, so gotta do that.
Did you read? There's an update to the Chronicles X. They're actually adding a new area, a new character, and a bunch of other quality of life upgrades to battles and such to make everything easier.
Thank God, because
like Xenoblade 1 is what.
So thank God, because I booted that game up not too long ago, and I went, man, this is fun, but how did I play this for long periods? Because there's some jankiness in here. Like, it's fine, but I've noticed there's some like tweaking that could have been done. Not that that's hard, but there's just it feels kind of snappy.
I mean, it was amazing at the time for what it was.
It was 100%
installs you could do where you could update the texture quality and install some stuff to the local drive, and that did make it run faster. And like they pulled more out of the Wii U than I think anybody thought the damn thing.
Yeah, like I was shocked when I but things begin to show their age when you've played on modern, like super modern consoles for a while.
It's been way over 10 years since that game came out.
Oh yeah, and I booted it up and I was like, my God, this is slow getting into here. But I mean, I had fun, and I'm really glad it's coming to Switch. So I'm going to definitely I'm definitely gonna pre-order that probably this week after when I come home from work.
For sure. So I'm starting to think we're not going to get the Switch 2 reveal this month. I think they are pushing it back further and
Late
further,
spring or summer?
which
Everybody's saying
sucks
it's either
because
March or April
yeah,
that it'll come out, not that it'll be announced.
if they're going to do March or April, they need to have already announced it by now. Is the problem? They need time to get this
That's
out.
not what they did with that's not what they did with the Switch. The Switch they
Switch was
announced
longer
that in
than
November and then threw it at us in December.
No, they because they showed it off early in that year, and then it still took a couple of months. Even by that turntable, that timetable was so close to make March or April, we would have had to have already announced it. Like they're pushing into later, and my worry, because all they've been talking about is all these games they've announced. I kind of wonder if we're not going to hear anything from them until every game they've talked about already is released. Like we're going to have to get Donkey Kong and Xenoblade and these other titles before they ever even mention the other system, because they want to keep that timetable, and that puts them all the way to like summer. And I think if they wait that long and then they're looking at a fall release, I think they've waited too long at that point. Like I know
They did say they were going to announce it before the end of the fiscal.
because the
year.
longer they wait, more of these other stuff comes out from like CES, which I didn't mark the rest of it, but like what was it? Steam is now allowing Steam OS on other devices, so you've got more handhelds that have already got Steam Deck compatibility on it, with like the new version of the Legion Go S and things like that. Microsoft announced that they're redoing Windows and Xbox to be ready this year to be able to put onto these handhelds, which is going to make them run better. They're going to wait so long, they may become irrelevant by the time they come out because they're not as unique as they were. What were you going to say, Rachel? Sorry about that.
I think one of my purchases for like later this year will be probably like a Steam Deck or a Legion Go or one of those things, just
The
so
Legion...
I can.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Just so I can play some of the games that I've really liked on Steam that I was like, man, I wish I could play this like not at my desk.
Yeah.
So.
Steam Deck, I really like. I think other than the Switch, it's one of the better computer handhelds, but it's been a couple of years now, and it's going to be a while before they do an update. I'd probably wait until they do that, so at least then you can play more, because there's a lot of current games that just you cannot really play on that thing. Like I tried playing Indiana Jones on it, and it was terrible. Like I just gave it a shot to see what I could do.
I convinced a friend to get it today because I said, well, if you're looking to play like the huge games on it, you're better off getting a Legion Go that can go off of Steam and run other games as well, like MMOs or Microsoft games and stuff like that. And I said, but if you're mostly indie games or you're big into emulation, I said Steam Deck is more than capable of playing all of those with no issues.
Agreed. It is absolutely fantastic for a lot of those. Even like I'll play GameCube and a bunch of other stuff on there, and they run great. And I have a lot of games, usually a little bit older PC titles that I play on there. But like I was playing for the first while before I got this current PC, Baldur's Gate 3, and it was playable. I could run it on there. I mean, the Legion Go, I really like the hardware on that one, but it's not as user friendly for portability all the time, just because there's more stuff to deal with. But I think if they do come out with this new version of the OS that they're talking about this year, that will completely change how that one works and probably might shift me back over to using it. Because when I do play games on it, they are stunning looking. Like they run beautifully. So it just kind of goes one way or the other. But with that, Nintendo needs to get out and get the Switch 2 there so people get into the environment and can see what it can do before it kind of delays itself into irrelevance. I worry, So we'll see. All right, on to our next bit of news. So, hey, who likes AI in their graphics cards? Because NVIDIA has announced the new 50 series of graphics cards, which is known as the Blackwell architecture. But they focus mostly on AI for a lot of their functions, for good and bad, I feel. And I've had some interesting discussions with people online. Of course, I've had a lot of the AI bros who have gotten all pissed off at me like, oh, this is the future. This is how it's going to work. And I think some functions will be great. Some won't. But so they're claiming these are going to have a minimum of 2 times the performance boost over the 40 series cards by using AI, their neural shaders, and the new DLSS 4. The 5070, which is the lower end, is going to run for $549, which is a nice drop in price compared to the last generation. The 5070 Ti is $749. The 5080 is $999, and the 5090 is $1,999. So it's still going to hurt. The 5070 is said to be comparable to a 4090 now. So their high-end card is supposed to be level with that, with the 5090 being a full 2 times the power for it. My concern is a lot of their focus for frame generation and graphics is that they'll render out little bits of it and they let the AI fill out the screen or generate 2 to 3 frames extra and stuff. Go ahead, Steven.
My problem is they had the worst example of it.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, say you're running a game at 120 frames per second and you want more. I was just like, why the hell
would
do you want more than 120 frames?
That's a lot of frames.
I don't even use 120 now. 60 is fine for me.
Doom is going to play like you're going through a time warp again.
Let's
Already
do
does.
the time warp again.
Yeah, Doom is already scary fast.
I watched
People play Doom at
120
240.
frames.
All right, like
Ew.
I saw it at 120 and I was just like, no.
Who has
This
a
is
monitor that can support it?
This is like turning on that like smoothing thing on your TVs. Everything's too fast and horrible.
So my concern with allowing the AI to kind of generate a lot of the scenes and things is, how is this going to affect how the game plays for one person versus another? Because if it's all being calculated by the AI doing this stuff, there's a chance that it could render out differently for different people, which could affect things like textures, your frame generation, because it's looking at your last mouse movements and generating the next frames ahead of time where it thinks you're going to try and add in those couple extra frames. So for every one they render, there's like 3 that they just make up. And I'm sure that could be neat for some stuff, but I'm curious how that's going to play out. I've already seen one developer, an artist, that was worried, like, if I design a face, I want it to look like that face, not what the system thinks it should look like. You're basically, you guys remember the whole thing with
that.
Yeah, you guys remember the whole thing with Aloy from what was that PlayStation game? The robot dinosaur.
Lego Horizon Adventures?
Not the Lego one, but Horizon Adventures. Do you guys remember the arguments people had around that, saying like, "Oh, she looks terrible because of all that stuff," and like they made this version of like, "Oh, we beautified her face and she's got makeup and all this stuff."
It's moved on to Outlaws now. Star Wars Outlaws has that issue now.
Yeah, and it's like, the other one looked like a person. This looks like you're trying to make it a model, and this is a woman surviving in a post-apocalyptic world. She's not putting on her mascara while trying to survive. She doesn't care. And I'm kind of worried a lot of people are going to use this to kind of push that more, because they can just replace the faces on stuff or change how the models work. And in order for this to work, they have to train all this data on something, and we don't know what all that training is going to be from. So are we just going to get random stuff from other things? And don't get me wrong, there are some good uses, I think, for the AI if it's used correctly. The textures being upscaled is great. I liked how that looked, because you could generate different types of textures as it scaled up from what they had. So they could put, it's almost like what the N64 used to do, but not as blurry, where you could take the texture, scale it up and output it and have it come out better. And then ray tracing is another one, which, yes, we all know I love ray tracing, especially in Minecraft. It would help be able to calculate that and render it out better, so you get more real-time ray tracing, which new lighting systems is always nice. But Steven, I'll let you go off about the faces, because I know you wanted to talk about that.
So if you look up NVIDIA Face AI on YouTube, there's a short presentation about NVIDIA RTX neural faces, they call it.
Yep.
It is everybody's favorite term, generative AI.
Ugh.
And it basically takes the face and the pose and enhances the face. Whether you're saying it's beautifying or not, that's your opinion. My thing is it's replacing the actor or actress, so that's a little weird there. And again, like he said, it's achieved via a pipeline that trains on offline generated images taken at every angle to get all the emotive expressions. So I've seen this even on TikTok with its different filters that make it work really well, so you can still talk and make faces and it looks like the same person.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it where there's a website saying these people do not exist.com, where all the people on that website are created by AI. So they're not real people. And you have that, you have Meta, as well as a bunch of other horrible things they're doing. They're creating millions of AI profiles
They're not doing that anymore.
To pad it. Did they pull them back, or is it just happening and they're not telling you?
Well, I mean, I think they pulled it back because of the sheer amount of backlash, but they've got other things that they've done recently that's like makes you want to squint at them. So
yeah. So, but anyway, this
yeah.
was their big thing is, hey, you could change the face, and it just reminds me of games that I see mods for where they're like, I fixed it. Either you fix the localization, which I agree, some of it can be lazy, but
yeah.
When they're saying they're fixing the game, that's just saying you went up to the Mona Lisa and said, she could use a hat, and you just put a hat on her, and you're just like, this is my Mona Lisa. No, it's not yours. It's Mona Lisa with your hat on it. So there's that confusion. So I just don't want people to get away with that, because then I was just like, well, what happens to the actors and actresses who got paid to have their likeness, and then they bring in the wrong piece of art to a con where they're like, can you sign this? And they're like, that's not me.
Yeah. So out of all of us, I think the one of us that would support this would be Rachel. For one reason alone, she'd change Spider-Man's face back. That's what she would use it for. She'd buy
that would be the only thing I'd use it for. That would be it.
You'd
that
get a whole
literally would be
whole
it.
new graphics card just to change Peter Parker's face back.
I'm sorry, like capture dude that that did all of the motion capture for Spider-Man, that is now the face that's on him. I'm sorry,
she
buddy,
does not like Tom Holland.
I don't like your face. You are too young, baby boy.
I knew I had to pull that string. This was too perfect of a chance. I was like, I need to do this.
You did. Yeah, I'm glad you did, because that is truly the only thing I would use it for. That is, if I could afford this crap, which I can't. So
I mean, if you want the best, it's only $2,000 before the computer itself. So actually, you could do it with the $549 one, which is not bad. Actually,
you could probably render DNA with that.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
I will stick with my current PC until it dies. So
yeah, I'm not upgrading because I still have a 4070 Ti. That's not a big enough difference.
I have a 30 something. So, and it's still fine.
I think
still
they
great.
said some of the
I just don't know how much better people are expecting things to look or get.
No.
Yeah.
Smoother maybe, but somebody I think it wasn't IGN, it was the well-known and much respected journalistic website known as Kotaku, saying that if Switch 2 is just an improved Switch, we'll be disappointed. And people were like, we're sorry to tell you this, but the PS5 is just an improved PS4.
Series X is just an improved 1X. That's all it
Everything
really
is just an improvement.
So it's just like, think of what you're saying before you say it.
Yeah, I'm curious how this tool is going to be used, because some of the other stuff is they very quickly went by it, but they had where you could just give it a prompt and it would generate parts of your game. And I was like, that is going to get messy. Some guys could be like, I talked to the computer. I'm a game developer. And it's like, no, you're not. Like, I get it if you want to use it for a tool or something, but
I could be an author in 30 minutes or less, because there's a new website, Books by Anyone, where you put in AI prompt, you give it a photo, you tell them what you want to make sure to include, and it writes the entire book, table of contents, and puts it together for you so you can post it on Amazon and sell your book.
I hate that entire existence of that. My wife is going to school to try and be a writer.
I was like, I wonder whose writing examples it's stealing from.
A lot of people, sadly. I'm not a fan of AI for anything beyond like large data kind of parsing and stuff.
I like hearing the words machine learning. I don't like hearing the words generative AI.
Yeah. So it doesn't sound like any of us are going to be getting a new graphics card anytime soon, at least for this. But
Nope.
on the flip side, AMD is not doing this crap. They announced their new Radeons, but we don't have the cost for them yet. So, but at least they look like they're doing good. So that maybe we'll be going to AMD now for all of our stuff instead of NVIDIA. All right. Now on to some happier news. PowerWash Simulator 2025. We're getting Wallace and Gromit. I am so happy. It's the next paid DLC coming soon, but Steam listed as March 2025. From the trailer, it looks like you're playing as a little robot that Wallace made that is pressure washing everything, which is absolutely perfect. Because if you go back and watch the trailer, towards the end of it, the train that's going through the living room, you see the little robot sitting on top of it with the pressure washer shooting the table. But it looks like you're going to visit a lot of the different scenes and locations from the Wallace and Gromit movies and shorts. So they showed like their house, his workshop. They showed the rocket on the moon, and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm a sucker for Wallace and Gromit. It is a series I have absolutely loved since I was a kid, and I've been greatly enjoying PowerWash Simulator ever since Steven finally got me to play it originally. And yeah, looking forward to this one. We have no idea how much it's going to cost, but are you guys going to be getting it as well?
Well, one, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm getting it now.
How much it costs? It's already going to be added to the list. But two, come on, Square. We know you're the publisher, so give them a bigger budget so they can include the music, at least the voices, and proper humor. It really wasn't that funny in Warhammer to just hear redacted, unless that was the joke. But
That was the joke, but I didn't like the return to the not present movie set. That was really stupid.
the come back to the later on.
Yes, exactly.
I just want them to do more. I would, how Minecraft did like theme park stuff.
Yes, which was really funny when we played that together.
That's gross.
I want PowerWash Simulator to do that.
That's like having like a Chuck E. Cheese DLC where you have to clean up after a big birthday party.
I want PowerWash Simulator to do that.
The problem with that is they would have to modify and add in a new part of the pressure washer, which is a flamethrower, just to get whatever is on the ground.
DLC.
Yeah, burn it to the ground expansion.
Yep.
The only way to clean it, be sure. Say what?
I said DLCCs. The new term.
DLCCs.
Lord. Yeah, we should have a discussion sometime of what weird worlds we want to see in PowerWash Simulator, because I hadn't thought about that one, Rachel. Having an amusement park would be a pretty good one, actually.
Yes,
specific
especially
if you get the licenses.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't see why they couldn't if Minecraft could for what they got. So
Minecraft's got the budget.
Yeah, but what, like, oh man, that is I know one. The Enterprise.
Oh shit, it'd be like a berry on sweep. I'm that nerdy. I know how the cleaning of the Enterprise goes.
You're welcome.
That'd be kind of fun just to clean from the outside, because you'd have the shuttlecrafts you could do. You could clean up the mess of a transporter accident gone bad.
Mm-hmm.
God, that would be disgusting.
All kinds of different things, but yeah, that was just a thought I had. So I wanted to.
Jace, where would you want to have a PowerWash Simulator world based from?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Train spotting.
I kind of figured you would have gone Gears of War. Like Gears of War would have been great because it'd be covered in stuff.
Oh yeah, just have like the APC from like the first game. You just gotta clean all the guts off of it, or like all the Lancer chainsaws. Somebody walks in, they're like, "All right, mine next." Okay.
Oh god.
Next.
No, the train at the very end of Gears 1, you have to go down and clean up the mess after you work your way up to.
Oh yeah.
I know you want to say you want me to say I love you after you've cleaned my vehicle, but I don't. I really don't.
That's probably the best line in that series.
What else? What else would there be?
While you're thinking about it, Chris, you got any thoughts? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you could do like Titanfall, clean the mechs.
Oh, that would be a good one. All right.
That'd be a fun crossover if EA would ever want to do anything with Titanfall again.
No shit. Like they keep making the game's $1.99 right now, people. It's one of the best shooters out there. It's just fun to play. Go buy it. Just do it. Chris, you got any thoughts for worlds you'd want to power wash?
Splatoon.
There you go.
Nice.
Oh my god, that's fantastic. You're just
He wants to be the
that.
antithesis.
We can call it after the Splatfest is over.
Oh god, you'd have to go around all the different levels. That's absolutely perfect. You're resetting for every match. Oh my god, Chris, that's genius.
Or just chasing after the little.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, just show up in the middle of the match.
I guess that'd be a good way to do 3 teams. Like you've got 2 that are competing with each other and 1 that just hates everybody, just cleaning everything. Oh man.
So yes, that would be amusing.
Oh god, that's great. All right, let's move on to our last little bit of news. So, Assassin's Creed Shadows has been once again delayed, this time to March 20th.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, you gotta have a Switch 2 version.
Yeah. So, this is the 3rd time this has been delayed, which is making me very anxious for how playable this game will end up being at release. They claimed it was because they got feedback and wanted to implement it, and it's like that would be like a later patch, not a we're stopping releasing the game again, and kind of going from there. Because Ubisoft, the developer of this game, has been having some financial issues and possibly could be sold or having a buyout from somebody.
Then if that's the case, this is their last chance to get,
Yeah.
Don't worry, Microsoft will buy them.
Or Tencent.
Damn, I'd rather Microsoft than Tencent, honestly.
Yeah, to be fair.
Because Tencent's now considered a Chinese military contractor or something like that. Like it's kind of crazy.
They're everything. They're like one of the biggest like Chinese corporations. Period.
I don't know. Assassin's Creed Shadows is the first Assassin's Creed I've actually been interested and kind of excited to play in a long time. So go figure, it's the one I've actually pre-ordered, and it's like, we're just going to keep delaying it. And I'm like, come on.
We need Metroid Prime 4 to come out before it, and then I can laugh.
Hey, one of the best comments I saw on G-Man Live review of Stalker 2 was the top comment that was most liked was, imagine telling somebody a decade ago that we would get Stalker 2 before Half-Life 3 and GTA 6. It's like, it's not wrong. Actually,
it's not. I was talking with somebody. I'm like, what are we going to get first? The Switch 2 announcement and release or Silksong? Like at this point, I don't know which ones we're going to get first. Because there's a Microsoft event on the 23rd this month that it was on Xbox stuff that was the last time it was shown, like 2 or 3 years ago. So who knows? All right, let's move on to our new segment called the Speedrun. Yeah, that makes some people nervous. I was gonna do the Sonic underwater time, and I was like, I would cause too much stress.
I was delighted by that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that's the Super Mario. For those that don't remember, that's the Super Mario Brothers 1. So when your time of your timer was running out, the music would double time and do that.
HTFU, yeah.
Yeah, hurry the fuck up. So basically, the point of this segment is going to be where we just have a couple quick announcements for news that we're not going into in-depth stuff all the time, but just to go through. So for me, developer Splash Damage has announced that Transformers Reactivate has been canceled just out of the blue. And I have here the Bumblebee from the game, which is kind of funny because the game never got released. So,
well, I mean, they already spent the money on toys for it, so they might as well make some money off of it.
No kidding. There's 3 more Transformers from this set, an Optimus Prime, a Starscream, and a Soundwave that I have to hunt down, but Bumblebee is my first before they become ungodly expensive. Next up, Amazon has started canceling pre-orders for Metroid Prime 4 with no indication as to why.
Why?
I'm telling you that a guess would be they know that they're not going to have the support to ship it. Like, they probably don't have enough copies.
Probably
Plus, they have this unknown hatred or problem with Nintendo that all of their first-party games get canceled. So,
yeah, they have a very love-hate relationship with Amazon for some reason. So,
So it's like they started appearing again, but people are like, don't buy it.
Oh, it's because if it's quite literally because they're like, oh, they have their own website too. Screw them, I guess. So
I don't know. What I would love to know, like a tell-all book at some point of what the hell happened between Amazon and Nintendo. Like that would be an interesting.
Oh, you'd have to like get the side from Nintendo and Nintendo only because Amazon will never tell you.
I don't think either one of them would ever tell me. You might as well just go tell the AI to write you a book. It'll probably be about as accurate.
It is more likely that you would hear from Nintendo out of either party, but
maybe. I don't know. We'll go ask Genki. They seem to leak everything.
Or ask Walmart Canada.
Yeah, they like to release stuff too. All right, so let's move to the big question. So this week, I came up with something a little different. So a lot of people want to know more about us, which would be kind of nice. So this is a get to know us for the questions. Basically, we all wrote questions for each other that we're going to ask and give answers to. No one is required to answer it. Hopefully we went through the questions beforehand. If there's any you did not want, we could remove, and we'll just kind of go from there. So, yeah, we got a whole list of it. Steven, I'll let you start off if you want to ask some of your questions.
Do you want each person to ask their question to me, or should I just read them?
I think each person should ask theirs, so I'll start it off then, I guess. So, Steven, what is the most sentimental item in your collection? That is your... It's not the original.
For two reasons. It's the only game that I can keep playing and play and play, and for some reason I never get bored. I never get tired. I love all the music of it. Everything elicits a response from me, and I avoided the worst mistake of my life, and that was owning this horrible game called Panic for Sega CD. And I was lucky enough to exchange that and say, oh, what is this game with the guy with the gun? It reminds me of what was that game for PC from Sierra and Dynamics? I think it was like Heart of China.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, it reminds me of the old point and click games. I was like, this will probably be a point and click game. I was right, but I was right in so many good ways.
So for those of you that are just listening to the show, not watching the video, Steven has held up a copy, his copy of Snatcher.
Oh, and this is not the copy. This is a reproduction.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, which one it
was. Game Retro, who makes reproductions, and I made sure to get this one just so I can like play it and show it off to people and not worry if it falls on the floor.
Yes.
Nice. All right, Chase, for you, I was going to ask, what is your favorite genre of movie?
Well, I definitely think like action and sci-fi are up there, but I'm also really big into like biopics. I really like anything that has to do with, it's about somebody. Mm-hmm. Like the like Rocket Man, for instance, was amazing. I absolutely loved that one.
It was good. I wanted to see it, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, they picked like a really good actor. I like the Elvis one as well. But have
you seen the Queen one? I'm curious about that one too.
No, I haven't seen that one. But Shanoa has. She absolutely loves Queen. She said it was amazing.
Nice.
I heard the Better Man one was not good though because of their twist.
The what? Which one?
The Better Man, where they basically the star. It's a biopic, but they just made him a monkey.
Oh.
I heard really good reviews of that one. Just kind of the way he wanted to do that.
I also, what was another one I just watched actually? It's sports related one. I really like sports related movies as well because I'm a huge sports fan. But the biopic about Kurt Warner is actually really awesome. It's on Netflix. I probably also like it a little bit though, just being biased because of me being born in Iowa and he's from Iowa. So it was actually like really cool to see. Nice. To see the state finally get some recognition. So yeah, I would say the problem with like favorite genre is that I'm kind of just like I like most things. Like, there's a lot of things where I'd say I like that, and Swan's probably like, "What? I wouldn't expect you to like that." But then it's just that what I struggle with sometimes is I struggle with like if they do like certain tropes in movies that just annoy me. More than anything.
You didn't like Lord of the Rings, War of Rohirrim?
That one, it's a chosen one trope. I freaking can't stand it.
Happens a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So Chris, since you as an artist, what is your favorite medium to work in?
Um, Really, the most I've done is just a tablet, just a pen tablet and computer because I can take my laptop anywhere.
Mhm.
And other than that, it's usually just a Bic pen and a sketch pad because I can just
Nice.
draw something simple and then just connect over it. And I've been able to, in the past, I've just made an entire page of random stuff, like a wall of weird stuff that's just from the brain to the pen. So there you go.
Nice. All right. Last one for me, Rachel. What has been your favorite cosplay to have done?
Oh, jeez.
I knew
I
that'd be a
mean,
hard one for you.
well, I mean, I've done a lot. I've not done like as much as some people.
Yeah.
But in general, I try to only do cosplays of characters that mean something to me in some way. So for years, my like goal cosplay to do was Winifred Sanderson from Hocus Pocus, and I did that one. And that one was my favorite for years
Mhm.
until like around the same time that I did this one, I started developing Cindy from Final Fantasy 15, which that is the whole reason I have the
Yep.
number of followers I do on Instagram and all.
I remember that
And
outfit.
why and some of them, even though I don't really cosplay her anymore except very rare occasions, that's why they have stuck around, because they're like, you did such a good job with that, like you are my Cindy, my cosplay version of Cindy, like that's who anybody else I see out there to con dresses her, which admittedly is not too many people anymore. They're like, you're the first person I think of. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet, thank you. But I think now at present, my favorite cosplay is Red from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh.
So that one, because like whenever I was a kid or even a teenager and stuff, and I'd go on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, the cast members would be like, they'd point at me and be like, hey, we got the redhead, and I'm just like, yeah, you got me. But then they made her into a pirate captain, and I went, oh my gosh. And when this was announced, I had dozens of people like message me because they knew I love that ride. I love pirates. I am a redhead. They said, you're literally in the ride now. And I go, I guess I am. I have to cosplay it. So I commissioned a friend of mine to do the bodice and the dress and the underskirt. And I made the hat. I bought a wig and I styled it. And I love that cosplay. Like, I love that cosplay. It is just, I put it on and I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm home. Like, it's just me. And so much so that after I did it, like, anytime friends go to the parks and go on the Pirates of the Caribbean rides where they are like, they have that scene with Red in the auction scene, they'll take a picture or quick video and they'll tag me in it, and they'll go, oh, just visiting Rachel at the auction scene. Hi, Rachel. So that's my favorite cosplay. But who knows? Who knows? It might be overtaken at some point soon. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's always changing.
I'm working on some things, but we'll see.
All right. Steven, you want to go through your questions now?
Sure. For you, Jeremy,
Okay.
what is the rarest piece in your collection?
So for me, I don't know if it's actually the rarest, but it's probably one of the more unique ones I have. And I brought it. Oh, it's this big bastard. Which this is Super Mario Brothers Versus. And this is not only the box it was shipped in from Japan to Seattle with all their information still on there, but it's the actual carrying case for it, the chipset, the glass marquee, the instructions in English and Japanese, and everything for the arcade version of Super Mario Brothers. And it's one of the. I actually got it at the same time as my Double Dragon arcade back there. Amanda found it. So it's got the whole versus Super Mario Brothers.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And if I open it, which of course the case, it's been so long, is kind of the hinges have split apart, but it still has the original foam. I have all of the original heatsink chips and everything for the game, so I can load it in there. And then the actual full chip set. It still
Need some
has.
solder to get that all on a board.
Oh, I have a board to put it on. I have a Versus arcade machine.
I can help you solder. I got plenty of solder.
Not a chance in hell. You are keeping yourself far away from this because it scares me.
They should make a game, Power Solder Simulator.
I love
Jesus.
even the acrylic cover is still the original Japanese. It hasn't been peeled off.
Oh wow.
And then the marquee has kind of changed color over time, but this is actual glass for Super Mario Brothers.
That's natural aging for the print.
Yeah,
on there.
But it looks fantastic, and I would like to eventually get this framed. I also have, I didn't get them, they're up there, but I have the ones for this for Versus Golf and Versus Excitebike as well. But This is the only one that's complete with the case, the paperwork, everything.
Sweet.
So, yeah, that's one of my favorite and rarest pieces, I feel, at least I have in my set.
Very cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
All right. And then for Chase, what is your favorite first-person shooter to revisit and play over and over again?
Oh, we kind of already foreshadowed it, but I had to think about it for a little bit, but the answer that instantly came to mind, and I just stuck with, is Titanfall 2. Just, guys, like Jeremy said, it's cheap as chips now. Get out there, get it, play it. If you haven't already, go experience it. It's an amazing story.
I would even argue that it's cheaper than chips because chips are not cheap here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking chips, not fries.
Yeah.
By the way.
That's what they say over here in New Zealand, is cheapest chips.
I like it. I like that. It's a cool phrase.
Game's so good. Like the story that they tell is actually amazing. Like and honestly, the fact that we've never gotten a sequel to that game is just, it's nothing shy of a war crime at this point to me. So
Keeps getting this close, and then it's like, nope.
Yeah, it's because like Apex, there's this thing called Apex Legends that happened, and
I knew
EA could just burn in hell for it, for all I care.
That's true.
What's worse is they keep saying like, this is the Titanfall universe. Like, you shut your mouth. That's not the. I haven't seen a single Titanfall.
Yeah, like the first Titan. I think the problem was the first Titanfall was a failure, and then it just never, like, everybody kind of just assumed that Titanfall 2 was just going to be more of one, and it wasn't. It was this amazing campaign, an amazing story.
It's a 10 out of 10 game for me too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, Steven, just to add on, I actually just found something else that I had not found in this case before. When I was moving some of the paperwork, it slipped out. This is an unused serial number registration sticker from Nintendo with the serial number the arcade machine was from, but it's unpeeled. Nice. Like, it's still in perfect shape. So it's serial number 007242 versus Super Mario Brothers game is authorized by Nintendo of America Inc. So I didn't even know that was in here. It just slipped out. So, all right. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right, Christian. So if you could meet any artist, living or dead, who would it be and what would you ask them? And you can't just ask them, why are you so awesome?
Oh, boy. Honestly, the artist that comes to mind the most for me is Sergio Aragonés. And if I could still meet him, I very much would. What I would ask him, that's an interesting question. I suppose, oh, man. I suppose I'd ask him what the biggest influence to his art was, because he's led such an exciting and fun life when you look into it. He's even made comics about his, escapades. He's a really fun and just entertaining person. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Whenever he draws those big, like Richard Scarry almost, no pun intended, like pieces where it's just so many people doing different things. I'm like, did you do all that in one swoop, or did you revisit it? Like, how do some people do those pieces?
Yeah, there's a lot I'd love to ask him, but yeah, he has had the most influence on my art style than anyone else, I would say.
Nice. I also just
All
love
right,
the way he
lastly
pronounces his name.
for Rachel, I have, what is your favorite game to play when you need a pick me up? Like, and by that I mean it can just be that you just don't know what you want to do, or you're just like, I don't know if I want to play video games today, but this one always puts me in the mood.
Well, pick me up as in I'm in a sad mood and I need a mood booster. That's what I originally thought, so I'm glad you clarified. My answer for that is probably Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, any of them, because they make me happy. But if I don't know what else to play, that I will play that too. Or that'll kind of I call it like a almost like a mood reset, where I'm like, I'll start playing that and then I'll be like, oh, I know what I actually want to play now. You know?
Yeah.
I do that with that game and with Super Mario Odyssey, because it's just, they're just fun. They're platformers. They're simple, but they're also challenging enough where you're engaged. And then sometimes it's like, oh, okay, then I've had enough of this. Let me go jump into whatever RPG I was playing. So, but that's what I like to do. Platformers are good pick me ups because they're simple and you can kind of stop anywhere for the most part, at least with the 3D ones. So,
All right, Chrome Studio, you got to release more Thai games.
yeah, I know. I'll buy them all. Like, I don't know why they haven't put the third game on other consoles yet. Like, it's on Steam. I don't get it. But, you know, you do you, Chrome. I love you anyway, even though it's a silly decision.
Licensing can be a pain.
I don't think it's licensing because it's all of their stuff. So, who knows?
No idea.
It's ever evolving mystery.
All right, Chris, do you want to go ahead and ask some of yours?
Sure, why not? Let's see. All right. Well, for Jeremy, what started your collection journey? What got you into it?
So I originally didn't collect much when I was a kid because my parents had stuck to kind of a rule that I could only get a game on Christmas or my birthday, is what they did with us. The problem being that's the same day for me, and they did not separate them. They would for my siblings because theirs were in the middle of the year, and then you had Christmas later in the year. My little brother played games a lot. My sister didn't really play them too much. That wasn't a thing. So every year when I would get a game, it was this really special thing, which I also remember the year that I mistakenly asked for Spy versus Spy, beat it the same day, and then learned to regret my decisions. But later on, I was staying at my grandparents' over the summer, which I would do on occasion. And my parents, completely out of left field, because this is something they never did before, just mailed me a copy of Super Mario Brothers 3 right after it came out. I didn't say anything about it. I guess I don't even know how they heard about it. And I remember getting that as my grandma and I were leaving their house for the day. We got the mail on the way out, and she's just like, no, you can't stay here. You got to come with me. So I had to go around the whole day reading that book, looking over the box, looking at the cartridge. And from there, I kind of wanted to hold on to these things, to look at them, and it grew into where I could start collecting games later. I could kind of get more of them to have options to play. I remember seeing other kids that, their families had a lot more money, so they were just had piles and piles of NES games and stuff like that. And it wasn't so much of like wanting to hoard them, but I kind of, and like I do now, I treat it like a library. It's something I can go back to and share with people. And that's part of why I'm rebuilding the game room. Like, there's shelves of games now, very similar to how Steven has behind him, but I'm custom building them so we can kind of pull it like a library, just pull the books out and get the games. And I've just always kind of enjoyed that, and it became kind of a thing of collecting for different sets and so forth. But I think that's kind of what got me started, was just wanting to be able to get a hold of these things, because it was really rare for me as a kid to be able to do that.
That
It
makes
just kind
sense
of
to
grew
me.
from it. Yep.
Very neat. That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Rachel, what books have stuck with you over time? We know you're an avid reader. What basically just what will you always go back to?
She's getting examples.
I have a few. So I'm gonna start with one that is like the most, I'd say, recent, in that I read it when I was like very much already an adult and going to cons and that kind of thing. When I went to Pensacon, that was a con in Pensacola. Jeremy, I don't know, I think you've been to that one.
I actually haven't.
Oh, it's so good. It was my favorite con for years. And it probably, looking back, it probably still is for the most part. But there was this booth there called Word Fire Press, and I got to talking to all the guys there, the authors that were part of the publishing company and all of that. And the author was not there at the time, but they said, you know what, we think you'd really like this book, and they hand me this book, which is Death Warmed Over, by Kevin J. Anderson. Zombies are normally not my thing. If you guys know me pretty well by now, you know post-apocalyptic and zombies are not my thing. But this is not post-apocalyptic. This is more like just modern stuff. And the main character is a zombie, and he's a private investigator. And it is one of the funniest things I've ever read. I recommend it to literally all of my friends that read. And it's a detective novel, but it's with a bunch of magical creatures in the modern day, and they live in what's called the Unnatural Quarter in New Orleans. And I read the back and I said, absolutely, I'm going to buy this. And I read, I think, the first chapter or two while I was waiting in line for like a panel or something. And I came back to the booth, and the author happened to be back because he was doing something else at the time. And he came out and he's like, did you just buy this? And I was like already on like chapter 18 or something. And I said, yeah, I just got it like earlier today. And he goes, oh my God. And of course he signed it and everything.
Nice.
But then the other ones, which I'll go quickly over.
You'll have to send me that one. I'm interested in that book.
It's very good. It's on, if you have a Kindle, or access to the, go ahead, Stephen.
That just reminds me to that one con, near Comic Con I went to, and this is when my wife and I were just dating at the time, and I was like, "There's this guy here, who did a book. His name is Peter S. Beagle. Does that ring a bell?" And she's like, "Oh my God, yes! Get his autograph." And I pretended I didn't, but I did buy his book and have him sign it, and then took a picture with him as proof. But yeah, he's the author of The Last Unicorn.
Oh, that is a good book.
I was just like, what a author to be there. What's one of her favorites.
Nice.
And we're going a little bit further back in time in high school, and I picked 4 books because I thought that this is a good way to kind of describe me as a person and my interests in this and how it's developed over time. So when I was in high school, I started reading these books. Should I have read them in high school? Probably not. But I remember being in math class. This is for the context is important. And I was reading one of these books, and the girl next to me, whose name was Morgan, I went to middle school, elementary school with her, and we happened to be at the same high school. And she goes, she taps me on the shoulder, and this is after we were done with the quiz and we were having a little bit of quiet time before like we were able to work on homework before we did a lesson or something. And she taps me on my shoulder and she goes, "What chapter are you on?" And she pulls the same book out of her bag. And Morgan and I's reading tastes never really aligned until this moment, so it was just kind of bizarre. But it was recommended, this book, my mother read them, and she goes, "Well, they're a little raunchy, Rachel, but I think you'd like them because of the humor." And years after this, it became a show on HBO called True Blood. So it's Dead Until Dark by Charlaine Harris. And this is the first series and the first book in the series. I think it's like a 12-book series. And it's just, for essentially a Harlequin romance with vampires. It has a lot of like really well thought out like politics side of vampire culture and other magical creatures, and there's a lot of thought into this. And Sookie, who my dog is named after.
Oh, Sookie's Steakhouse.
Yep. Sookie is just a clever, funny little waitress that happens to be a telepath. It's good. It's not like by any means like a, I would say, have a command of language like fantastically written book,
Mhm.
but for the type of book that it is, it's really good.
There you go.
And then the other two are more childhood stuff that I read when I was in middle school, also probably above my grade level, well above. And there's an author out of the UK, and her name is Diana Wynne Jones. I don't know if you guys recognize that name at all.
Been a while.
So you might recognize the name of one title of her book, which was made into a Ghibli film. It's Howl's Moving Castle.
Ah.
Yes. So, and her writing's very whimsical. All of her chapters start with "in which," like in which a witch comes to the hat shop, in which this, and so it details kind of what happens in the chapter without giving everything away. But her writing's very whimsical. It's just an all around good time. And the two that I will always go and reread is comfort reads. And the other ones I mentioned, obviously, too. I always come back to them. It's Howl's Moving Castle and The Dark Lord of Durkholm. What I will say about this is they live in a world that is devastated by what's called pilgrim parties, which is where there's packaged of excursions of tourists from other worlds that are there to see a very specific adventure. So each year, a person in this world, there's a lottery, and one person is chosen per year to be the Dark Lord and portray that character for these tourists from other worlds. And it's nuts. And the guy who's chosen in this book is just a man who owns a farm and has a bunch of kids. And it's great. But those are the books I always come back to. Obviously, for a lot of people listening that kind of know me, and you guys who know me, Harry Potter's a big one, but I wanted to give stuff other than that. So
That works too.
yeah.
Nice.
But hopefully that was a good answer.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, it was an
Yes.
involved answer. It was a good one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, listen.
Hey, don't.
I'm a
knock it. I'm curious about
multifaceted
that
individual,
zombie-
and I hope these give book recommendations to people.
Yeah, you have to
So-
send me the zombie detective. I'm very interested.
I will. They're on it's on Kindle. So
Okay. Nice.
All right. So, Chase, speaking of cheapest chips, what interesting foods have you had now that you've lived in, NZ for a while?
Oh, well. So I've had lamb for the first time I was over here. Roast lamb. It's
Oh.
absolutely divine.
I
Next
love
to
lamb.
it's my second favorite to beef.
Really?
Definitely. Oh yeah.
Wow.
It's if you cook lamb just right, it's very flavorful, delicious. There's plenty of it here. In New Zealand, there's 8 lambs to every one person. A
it's
land of 5
plentiful.
million people and 40 million sheep. So, yeah, no, the lamb over here is absolutely amazing. The other thing that I had over here, which I didn't know about, that really was a thing until I got here, was meat pies. They are awesome.
What's your
And-
favorite meat pie?
Oh, pepper steak.
Mm.
Just a easy pepper steak, or just a steak and cheese.
Is there a difference between a meat pie and a pot pie?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like what a meat pie is. Just basically like, think of like a phyllo. I don't even know if phyllo's the right word.
So the crust is more like flaky.
Well, on top it is. So
Okay.
it's like a normal crust that you'd have like a pie in on the bottom, and the top it's like a flaky crust. And it'll have stuff like, it'll just, like I said, it'll be like cuts of like steak that they've chopped up into cubes and stuff. Excuse me. And like cheese and maybe like a little bit of gravy, some other stuff like that. It's so good.
That does
And
sound good.
I was like, I've never had one before. I don't know if they're really a thing in the States, but I'm like, man, if they're not, like, somebody could make a killing over there with something like that, because they're actually really good. Like, and they're real in like the UK and here in Australia and stuff. They're real popular. Like, you get them in gas
Basically
stations.
what hot dogs are. For
Yeah,
the US.
you get them in like gas stations and
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
They're real popular over here, and they're awesome though.
I wish they were popular in the States. I have to go to specialty stores to get just beef meat pies.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I've ever had a meat pie.
There's a place out here called Chippy's that
Really?
has a bunch of UK stuff, and you can get like 10 frozen meat pies.
Yeah.
We have something kind of like that down here where you're able to get that kind of thing. But believe it or not, we do. There's something. And this is the closest I think you can get to a meat pie. That you could buy in an American grocery store. It's something called a boomerang. And it does have the flakiness. I know most meat pies come like they're pretty circular, right?
Yeah. About yay big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm partial to pasties over meat pies, but that's just because of the portability of them. But
Jamaican meat patties are good too.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are a little more readily available in the States.
They are.
Meat patties are pretty popular over here as well.
Nice.
Like, you could order like a meat patty from a fish and chip shop if you want.
And Cheerios too.
Yeah, we had to have a whole conversation about that. So they do have some interesting names for stuff over here. Obviously, in New Zealand being an island country, the seafood's obviously really good here as well.
Man, I can only imagine.
Yeah. So no, the food over here is good. A lot of it's all fresh too, which is nice.
I'm glad I had something to eat before we recorded, because right now I would just be like dying. Because that sounds delicious.
Oh man! All right. Well, Steve, aside from the fact that now we know that Snatcher has replay value, so you enjoy something with replay value, I refuse to hear that from you again.
It doesn't have New Game Plus, thankfully.
If only.
Technically, it kind of did, because you played it with me in a new way and found new content. So that's kind of New Game Plus. Oh, okay.
I'm not counting it. New Game Plus is dumb.
Anyway, aside from that, what game console really formed your love of gaming in general?
So the surprising answer is none of them. Because at the age of 2, according to my mother, I would sit and watch my brother play the Commodore 64.
Huh.
Commodore 64 got me into the love of gaming, and luckily, when my brother moved on to a different computer, I was gifted the Commodore 64.
Awesome.
And
nice.
Unlike any other game console I've ever owned, there is just so much more that I can recall and talk about when I look through my floppy disks and look at the different games, because they don't make them like they used to. Because I'm going to highlight 2 in retrospect. And they're from these 2 companies. You may have heard them from before. One of them is called Activision.
Yes, those guys.
And the other one's called ECA, which then they dropped the C, and they became EA. But you had one game called Mule. And if you look up the description of the game, it's the most boring thing you've ever heard of in your life. That you're just a bunch of aliens trying to play the stock market on a planet by collecting resources, and you can collude with each other. Things can happen to your crops, to your electricity, and it's up to 4 players. And the music's phenomenal. It was also another thing that got me into the music. Finding out that got ported to Nintendo and looked like crap, I was just like, wow. Going to a more powerful system does not make things look better. And then the other one, and you're going to see a recurring theme here with the Nintendo at least. The other one's Little Computer People. This is a disgustingly expensive game if you try to get it for the Commodore 64. But it is not really a game. You just watch somebody live in their house. Never leave their house, but you can ask them to do things. There are commands that he can recognize, but you have to. He does recommend that you say please and thank you if you want him to do it more. Um, he can also um, what do you call it? You can also use quick keys or hot keys to make sure he has food, water, food for his dog. You can force him to take a phone call. The only thing you can tell him to play piano, and he'll do a lot of different royalty-free music, like for Elise and stuff, which is also always nice. That got me into like, oh, what is this song called? I like this song. Yes, this there was a version of this that did come out for the Famicom Disk System called like Apple Town Computer People. I have it on my Steam Deck. The beauty of it is, while I can't tell her what to do, I can at least just watch her just interact with the world. So it's just, I don't know. There was something about that game that I would just leave that on my Commodore all day long, and it was just the best thing to have running in the background ever. But like I said with Jeremy, there's going to be a day where I'm going through all my love of Commodore 64, because there's just so many titles that they'll never get to, and they'll never be a collection of, because even though there's a few of them appearing on Switch nowadays, they're not going to get to all of them, and some of them, I think there's no more licenses left for it.
Oh.
I think didn't they release some of the Commodore 64 games on the Wii or the Wii U Virtual Console? Like for a very short time, they actually started adding them, and I was like, "What the hell?"
They did, but they were kind of the ones that weren't really even Commodore 64 specific, like Last Ninja, or things like that like everybody had their own version of. But there's just, I could fill hours of just talking about the different games that either they brought to Nintendo to see if they were still good there, but they looked like crap, and or they're ones that were really good, but only the sequels came out on Commodore 64. Because like I told Chris, A Spy vs. Spy is actually a trilogy, and the second and third one are fantastic, but they're only really played on the Commodore 64, because the second one takes place on an island, and the third one takes place in the Arctic. So it's got whole new. The idea is the same, but the gameplay and weapons you can use are all new. So I was like, this is something they could have kept going with, but they just made one for Nintendo. So it was just like, come on, you could have made three.
I already mentioned.
So yeah, when someone says, "What's your favorite game console?" I was like, I don't have one.
I still consider the C64 to be a game console, but like,
I don't know. I have tons of homework helper writing and things where I can print out Beetlejuice birthday cards, but who wants to do that?
I mean, back then it would always get kind of weird because like there was keyboard and an OS for Famicom that you could do stuff, and
that's true.
And just the fact that I can still plug in a Genesis controller into my Commodore 64 and it works.
The fact that they have the same plug, that's so wild.
That's was pretty common back then, because the 9-pin was very common with stuff, but you still had to be careful, because just because it fit, you could short the stuff out depending on the controller, because the pins would not operate the same on everything. Oh. So you really want to look into it before you just plug it in.
I just did it once a long time ago, but other than that, I have like 15 Commodore 64 controllers, so I won't run out anytime soon.
Well, I wouldn't be worried about the controller. It's the system that would get fried that he'd be worried about.
Oh, man. Funny little quick story about the Commodore 64. I bought a Sega Saturn, the first 32-bit console I owned, and I did not realize it didn't have the screw-in switch. It had composite. So I thought I was stuck and wasted money. And then I see that the Commodore 64 screen had audio and video plugs. So that thing actually saved my bacon for Sega.
That monitor's worth a lot of money, but it's now gone probably.
Yeah, they break down, but...
So yeah.
All right, Chris, I think that was all of your questions there. So, Chase, what about you? You want to ask your questions now?
Yeah. Start off with Jeremy. What got you hooked into gaming?
So this one, surprisingly, is a very different answer than the one I gave for Chris for the starting of collecting, because what got me hooked into gaming is actually the original Macintosh. My grandfather, back when I was 4 years old, got one of the earlier models of the Macintosh. He was a naval officer, so he had gotten that so he could use it at the house, but he would let me kind of mess around with it. It was the first bit of electronics I ever got my hands on. And I can't pull it out because it's down here on the shelf and I have it taken apart and I'm rebuilding it, but I have the computer still. And I would mess around with it, but it had this maze game that was built into it. I don't remember the exact name of it. I got to play it a couple years ago when I booted this thing up and it was still on there. I played it for a bit until some capacitors blew and I had to shut it down. But that was the first one that I ended up playing, like the first game I really got into, and I would play it. I'd sneak in there when I wasn't supposed to and play this damn thing. Like I got in so much trouble just messing with that computer. But that's what started my entire love of electronics and of understanding that I could play games with these things and do stuff and how to work on them and program and all that stuff. So yeah, my grandfather and that original Macintosh is what got me into it.
Very cool.
Nice. Chris, what game has... So I tried to word this as best I could, and I'm sorry if this is a terribly worded question, but what game has like your favorite art style out of like, if you had to pick from all the games you played?
That is not easy. That is not an easy question at all because there are so many wonderful art styles. I'll list a couple that come directly.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. I'm not going to say you have to pick one, so you could list a few.
No, I think he should.
Who's your favorite child?
Yeah.
Like as an example, a game that uses Square's graphics incredibly well is Chrono Trigger. It's just gorgeous. It's very vibrant. It uses the late Akira Toriyama's character art style in a wonderful way, for fantasy and that kind of thing.
Love that.
And I played that before I played any Dragon Quest games, so that's the one that stuck with me. With Capcom, obviously I adore all the Street Fighter and Darkstalker games because of the sheer amount of just every frame is beautiful. And just the characters in any fighting game, a good fighting game, can look like it's practically a cartoon and you're controlling it. And I've always loved that kind of thing. And in terms of something new, I'd probably have to go with Anton Blast just because it's so crazy. It's basically a half Wario Land, half Crash Bandicoot, and it has some of the best new pixel art I have seen in quite some time. So there you go. That's the short answer.
And now for the next hour, the long answer.
Right. Steven, what's your favorite co-op game? A favorite co-op game, or just a couple different favorite co-op games?
This was one of the most difficult questions ever. And part of me was like, I could have separated into systems if I had to, but
Chase with the heavy hitters here.
I dwindled it down to two, okay? Because they're one of those I would keep playing and pick up again. One of them is for PlayStation 2. It is called The Adventures of Cookie and Cream.
I have that. Remy got me to buy it. I freaking love that game.
The one for DS. The one for DS is hot garbage. Don't play that one. Play the one because you have to share a controller with the other player to play through this. And it's not just your typical stages that look like they're from Crash Bandicoot. There's actual boss stages where you both have to pilot a tank, but one of them has to move the turret and the other one has to move the treads while sharing the controller. So it was unlike anything I ever played, and it's one of those things that it just works so well, and it's a blast to play. And the other one is because there's no other game like this that does it correctly, and unfortunately, like, unless somebody finds out like an online way of doing it, is The Warriors. Because it is essentially a beat 'em up of your dreams, but you can play it co-op. And spoilers, yes, when you beat it, you unlock a Double Dragon mode where you play it in almost like a arcade style with sound effects and all that. So I've never seen the movie in my life, and I don't care because the game is just so much fun to play.
It's an
And when
amazing movie.
someone's just like, "What kind of Rockstar games you like?" I say the Warriors. The rest is the same old slop because they haven't made a game like this yet. Anybody else?
Hmm.
I could keep going about co-op games because there's way too many, but those are the ones that bring the most joy.
All right.
Nice.
Let's see, Rachel, what is one of your favorite like video game, board game? Like, what are some of your favorites? Like, do you have any TTRPGs as well? Any of it?
Oh man, my favorite tabletop RPG is the only one I've actually played at length. I played Vampire the Masquerade once, and it was a pre-made one-shot like thing. And it was fun. But the one I have the most experience with is Monster of the Week, which is very, very, very good. I've never ran it as a GM, but I've been a player, and it's so good. It's a fan of it's a game where there are rules, but it's not bogged down by as many rules as other tabletop games like D&D, for example.
Mhm.
Or Pathfinder, but it's very much a fan of the players, where the GM can kind of decide, make most of the decisions on their own with storytelling and stuff like that. The rules are really just guidelines and methods for like rolling dice. There's nothing that's gonna bog down anything at all. It's not overly complicated, and it's just fun. Yeah, there's playbooks you choose from, and you can it's very much made for like modern era kind of thing. Like I don't think you could probably run it in something in the past, but not like too deep in the past, I'd say. But it's very, very fun, and it's easy to learn, and that's why I like it. Board game, have you guys ever played Munchkin?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So that one is a favorite. And then, of course, Bonanza. And this is one of my editions of Bonanza that I just actually got in the mail on Thursday night. And they replaced the beans with flowers. So that one. And yeah. But I already explained that game. So obviously, I'm not going to explain it again. And then some of my favorite games, of course, are y'all already know. Jeremy, what's one of my favorite games?
Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah. So
I was gonna joke and say 7, but I was like, no, it's 15. Who
it's
are we
15.
kidding?
And it's my history with that is primarily why it's my favorite. I watched it be developed from its infancy, when they filed a patent for a very specific part of the combat system when it was still called Versus 13. And then, of course, Tales of Grace's F, which you can barely see. But that's about to find its way off of the PS3, and the redone version is coming out soon. So
Nice.
exciting
good.
stuff. Exciting stuff. And as you guys can see, Suki, my dog, has joined us. And I think she's just liking hearing me talk. So
Very snuggly tonight.
yeah, she is. Well, her she damaged her dew claw on one of her
Ouch.
feet,
Mhm.
and it's about to just fall off. So she's very snuggly right now
Poor thing.
because she's looking for comfort. So
No.
All right. Well, Rachel, you were the last one here, so you want to go ahead and ask your questions.
here
and we'll
we
from there.
go, friends. Here is the questions. Are y'all ready?
We are.
Chase, what is your favorite board game or tabletop RPG?
Favorite board game? I thought about bringing it up here, but it's a huge box, so I was careful. I was like, "Oh, I don't know that I'm gonna be able to."
I mean,
fit
you
it in
can't
here.
have anything in the background of that room. It would just break the whole
Right.
theme with you.
So board game, that's tough, but I'm going to say a game called Nemesis.
Okay, I think I've heard of that.
Yep. It's on, if you're ever curious about it, look it up on like Board Game Geek or anything. It's in the Board Game Geek top 50. It's basically, like the way I always explained it is, think of like the setting of the first Alien movie, but with more than one, obviously, like in Aliens. And you wake up from a cryogenic sleep, you and your the other players. It can hold up to, I think, accommodate up to 6 players. You wake up from cryogenic sleep, and as you move around the ship, you're making noise. And what happens is, and you're rolling die to see where the noise markers go. And if you eventually roll the die and you have to put a noise marker somewhere where there's already a noise marker, then you reach into this bag, you pull out a token, and that tells you what kind of intruder, as they call it, not to get sued, pops up. And then you trying to figure out how you're going to get out of there. Everybody has objectives. They have either a corporate objective or a personal objective. Once the intruders show up, you decide which objective you're actually going to do, and you ditch the other one. And then what ends up happening is that if you all work together, then things can kind of go smoothly. Like if you work together to take down an alien or things like that, it's fine. But in the back of your mind, you always have to be thinking, like, this guy's got his own personal objective he needs to do. He's gonna screw me over at some point. Like he's eventually gotta do his own thing. So you're wondering how long this tenuous relationship's actually gonna last. And you can be as nice or as much of a dickhead as you want to be in that game. But yeah, so there's Nemesis, which is the first one. Then there's Nemesis Lockdown, which was the second game made, where you're set in like a base on Mars, and it's similar concept. And then they recently just crowdfunded the third game in the trilogy called Nemesis Retaliation, where it's basically like you're the Space Marines and you're going in to blow up the nest this time. So it's actually quite a different theme, because the other games were more like horror themed. Like you weren't necessarily supposed to fight the aliens, you were just supposed to try to avoid them and get away from them. This one, it's like, now you've got the tools, you've got the talent. So I'm looking forward to that one. Tabletop RPG is a tough one because I've only really played D&D and I'm on my first campaign, but I am really enjoying it. Another board game that I do enjoy quite a bit is, I guess, I don't know if you call it necessarily a board game. It's more like a card game, but it's called Hanabi.
I think I've heard of that one. We've people have played it at board game night, I think.
Yeah, so it's an interesting game because there's this whole code system to how like people give clues to tell you how to like what card you should play, because you have a hand of cards but you can't see the cards. You have to hold them to where everybody else can see what you have, but you don't know what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And so people could give you clues as to what you have. They could say this color or this card is red, or this card is a 3. The objective of the game is to try to, because there's 5 colors. There's red, yellow, blue, green, and white. And the objective is to try to get all the colors stacked from 1 to 5.
Huh.
So
Okay.
there's multiple ones. There's I think 4 or 5 ones. Then there's 4 2s, 3 3s, 2 4s, and 1 5. So you're trying to ditch all your. So it becomes a pain of trying to if you've got a 5, you got to hold on to it, but then it can come up the works because then you have to figure out what else you're going to get rid of. And then you're also trying to give clues to everybody as to what they've got, so they play their cards. It's actually really fun. Really cool site actually to play Hanabi is Board Game Arena. My girlfriend and I, we play on there quite a bit. Yeah, I think those are probably the 2 that come to mind.
Very cool.
Nice.
Okay, my next question. Let's see. Stephen, what is your least favorite item in your collection?
Uh-oh. That's a loaded question.
Yeah, luckily I had it handy because, when 2 companies do a collaboration and you're like, I guess that fits, but who's this for?
Oh boy.
So I own Tomb Raider Barbie,
Oh my god.
part of the Barbie signature line.
What kills me is that's like the more modern take also.
And well, it was the only one they made it based on the new movie,
Yeah.
the 2013 or whatever you want to call it. But I was just like, okay, it's a Barbie, but it's the only complete video game Barbie, because to compound that, it's not the one that I actively go and show people unless they say what's the least favorite or most obscure. Is they actually did 3 packs of Nintendo clothing for Barbies, and I bought all of those too. Because even though I'll never own a Barbie, I'll at least own all her Nintendo clothes.
Okay.
But it's not something that I'm like, look what I've got.
What
People
are
are
the
just like, you have a Tomb Raider
clothes?
figure? I'm like, yeah, but don't look at this one.
I'm guessing it's like Princess Peach stuff, or
It's just Mario stuff you'd buy off of, like, that you'd actually wear, that ladies would wear themselves, like little skirts with stars and Koopas on them and stuff like that, and purses that have Princess Peach on it and stuff like that. So I was just like, well, I need to own all of these and just never own a Barbie, but just keep them sealed.
See, I thought you were going to say
Christmas.
Panic.
I don't own that. I got rid of that and buried it underneath ET in New Mexico.
Oh man. Lord. All right. So, Jeremy, what is your favorite photo that you've ever taken? Because I know that you do photography and like drone stuff. So what's one of the favorite things that you ever gotten out of that?
I have taken a lot of photos in my lifetime.
One that's particularly, I guess, impactful for you and maybe have memories associated with it.
Well, I thought about it beforehand, and I did come up with what my favorite photo is, and it's both on purpose and kind of also an accident.
Mm-hmm.
My last day I got to spend with my brother. I kind of knew this might be our last little trip together, but I wasn't actually sure, and it ended up being our last day that we got to do a little trip to Pensacola and spend the day together and doing stuff. When we came back, I took him over to the park that our mom used to love. And I was showing him my drone. He was kind of curious about drones and stuff like that. And I had my camera and was just kind of messing around with it. And being our goofiness, he was like, go scare the birds. Like, just mess with the birds. So I was messing with those for a little bit. And I went to take a photo of him and at the same time scared a bunch of pigeons. So as he's looking up, all the birds are flying up behind him. So it is the only picture that I've taken. Like, I shared all my photos of my brother with his girlfriend that, from when he passed away and family and stuff. This is the only one I got greedy with. There's only one print of it. I did a large print that I had ordered. I can print them now, which is nice, but I printed that one and I keep it in my room, hung up on the wall, because it's just such a nice picture of him. He's smiling, kind of looking up with the birds flying up behind him. And it's the one I kind of look at and kind of get a nice little laugh at how it turned out. But I think that is probably one of my favorite photos I've ever taken. So.
All
What
right.
guys' name are y'all posting in the chat? I didn't say anything about it earlier because Steven, just for behind the scenes in baseball here, he tried to post a link into the chat during the show, and it ended up being this massive, long link.
I think it was supposed to be a photo.
I fixed it with a smaller link, okay? I still had time left for the joke of what Christian would be like if he went to New Zealand.
Oh God, it was terrible.
Lord.
So,
but yeah.
Last but not least, though, Chris, who's your least favorite artist and why? And the hard mode is you can't say AI.
They're not artists.
Because they're not artists. So there you go.
All right.
We all agree on that.
I don't like to disparage any creatives. But everybody, there's always going to be a misunderstood singer. There's going to be an author who people call a hack. That's just going to happen. But for the sake of what he has done to the fandom and to the franchise, Ken Penders can eat it. Okay.
Oh,
Wait,
how did
who
I
is
know?
this?
Oh man, are we gonna have a TED talk on Ken Penders?
Everybody listening is now Googling Ken Penders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get a background
So-
on this.
Okay,
All right.
I'll let you
Oh
go.
God, I
'cause-
shouldn't have Googled it.
Okay. So there have been a lot of really good comics based off of video games. There have been some weird ones back when they didn't really know what to do with the franchise, like say the Malibu Street Fighter comics, which were more like Mortal Kombat when you look at them. A lot of characters died. And funny enough, Malibu did Mortal Kombat later anyway. And you had Mario stuff that was based off of the Game Boy, where Mario would be in a little Game Boy and hang out with like the player.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Sonic, before he was established and Sonic Adventure was a thing, somebody had to make up Sonic lore. And one particular artist decided, okay, I'm making a bunch of characters for this, for Archie Comics, and it's all well and good. And then he decides, I've made all of these. Now they're my property. And so is Sega's version of these characters as well.
Oh no!
So there was a whole lawsuit going on where Ken Penders basically said, no, Knuckles the Echidna is my creation.
Oh,
I don't care
no.
what Sonic Team says. I made Knuckles into who he is. And this has nothing to do with, like, if you look at his art, oh, God.
I already did, and I never want to
His
again.
art was Ugly Sonic before Ugly Sonic. It was, just imagine an entire world of Ugly Sonic characters, and that's what you got. I would not be disparaging him this much if he hadn't been such a weirdo.
He's
about
so weird.
Trying to own characters that he did not create.
He's just weird in general. I'm gonna send something in the Discord.
Boy.
That is like no context art from the Archie Sonic series, which is what Ken Penders was involved in. I'll put it in podcast chat.
Yeah, but say don't make everyone else have to witness this. Just keep it to us.
No, I don't. Help me understand this, because I'm
Not
like,
enough eye bleach out there.
What in God's name is that?
it's Shadow. That's who it is.
I was kind of afraid.
It
That's
doesn't
who
look
that
like
was.
a child. It looks like it's daddy.
Yeah.
It's something. It's something.
I mean, he created Shadow, obviously. I mean,
Yeah, I can understand there are people who, once they make enough comics, they're thinking, well, I shaped the lore of a character, and sometimes that happens.
I could see the argument for that. Just like,
Sonic likes chili dogs because of the animated series and comic books.
yeah,
And no one will ever get to know Knuckles' 1,000 cousins.
Yes, that is. But
Hey kids, Google your name, the Hedgehog, and see who you are.
Oh, that's a whole. other
Don't
thing.
do that.
Be careful.
If you're
Safe
under 18,
search
don't
is
do
off.
that.
Yes.
But yes, probably that's the worst of it. I'm sure there are better artists, there are worse artists, but
That's
not
pretty
even
bad.
for his artistic ability, just for the ego trip. I just have a thing against Ken Penders, but that's it.
Damn,
It's a good answer.
That's a hell of an answer to end the show on.
Listen, if you want to experience the Archie comics thing, there's like 592 pages of it or whatever. Like it's not like that's a lot for comics. But like, it's an experience, and you can see how he did kind of help shape some things in the Sonic franchise with that comic series. But then at the same time, you're like, what the heck is this guy on?
Ass, man.
Exactly. What the ass, man. Yep.
Breaks on what he did, and just took credit for the stuff that he did instead of what everyone else did, then he wouldn't have the reputation he does today.
Yeah,
I think Sega just attracts weirdos.
Yeah.
I'll leave you with some parting knowledge. You should look up the story of Echo the Dolphin. It is equally disturbing.
Yes.
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 Another one that's video game related. I was actually listening to while I was working on the game room. I had Retronauts playing, and they did a recent one about Captain N, the Game Master, and the whole story of how that actually started, and the argument of the guy claiming he created it from Nintendo Power, and that like it was stolen by Nintendo. And Deke came up with the idea and kind of took some of the stuff, and like he even was like, "I did an oil painting of Captain N, and they stole it from my desk." And I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but this is weird. So yeah, that's something else I learned. All right, let's see. Wrap that up. All right, so it has been I think that was a fun experiment to get into. Like we should do this as an occasional thing, just kind of like reintroduce ourselves and ask hilarious questions because I like the answers that we've come up with. I've learned much about us, and I now know that Steven will have to get a Barbie to wear for his clothes for Christmas. He's not happy about that. All right, so this has been episode 157 of the show. If you let me get down to the bottom here. So you can find the podcast in audio form wherever you listen to your shows, and the video version over on YouTube at our channel, Zenspath COM. Both can easily be found over on zenspath.com as well. Leave us a review if you can to help us grow, like and share the show with others, and leave us a comment on YouTube to tell us what you feel about the show, or maybe answer the big question, which I guess this week would just be asking us questions. There's not really a question for you to answer, but you can comment on our answers and maybe give your own to some of the questions.
Yeah.
You can talk with us directly over on our Discord. Is the easiest way to find us and chat with the latest news and happenings. With that being bit.ly/ZenspathDiscord. So, all right. Well, this has been episode 157 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast, and we're out. Peace.
Did Ken Penders work on Sonic 06?
I hope not.
Maybe that's the one thing he won't take credit for.